name's Kerry-Ann and this is Tomatoes and Tulips, my YouTube channel where I share everything related to homesteading. So homesteading for me is a lifestyle choice. We are urban homesteaders, so we're not in a rural setting or anything like that. We're actually in a terraced property, a terraced masonette. We have a tiny little courtyard garden, a very small allotment plot and a little conservatory that we use as a greenhouse. But we are trying to live a homesteading lifestyle as a family, and so this channel is dedicated to all of that. So if you're new, hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of what you can expect to find here on the channel. If you've come across this video today, this one is to show you what my garden looks like in October. So we are now on Monday the 17th of October, and obviously the garden's going to look very different to what it did back a few months ago when I last did a tour of the courtyard garden. Not just because the seasons have changed, but also because I move things around in the garden quite a lot. So you will notice that the central area where before I had a sort of seating set up and lots of plants, that's all moved, but you'll see that in the tour video in a moment. And also there's obviously a lot less plants in bloom, so there's a lot less edible plants, although there are some which I will go through the video with you and I'll do a voiceover. I can't actually tour and talk when I'm touring, just because I am in a very built up area, and when I say very built up I mean people can literally look in on the garden and could end up talking or shouting, and you can hear all sorts when I'm doing the tour. So you may find that a lot of the video tours that I do, I have to record them and then take away that audio and do a voice talk over the top. So I won't be talking with you as I walk around, but I will do a voiceover and do my very best to explain a lot of the changes and things you'll find in the garden. I'm pleased to say we are still growing as much as we can that's edible for the family in the garden and at the allotment. And there's lots of interesting plants that are showing a lot later. So normally lots of the plants will have died back by now, but because of the change in the seasons and the change in the weather that we're getting, you will notice there's some different plants that are still in bloom or different plants that are still green and growing well. I can give you a little update on my trees. You'll see how my dwarf trees are doing. So back a few months ago, I can't even remember what month it was, but I bought some dwarf trees. I bought 4 in total, and they have joined the little courtyard garden. I'm really hopeful that either next year or the year after we'll be getting some fruit from those. So you'll see those in the tour. And also I'm going to tour you around this space here. So my conservatory over the years has changed in its use many times. I can't really decide what I want to use it for, but it's always had a space for growing. So I've always had one side of it dedicated to the seedlings and starting the seedlings and things, but because it's actually attached to the business that I own, so obviously I own the shop, and that's where I do art and design by KB and Devon Art Supplies and Betty's books and things. So that's my business, my day-to-day business. And as you get to the back of the shop, that's where my little conservatory is, and then my courtyard leads on from there. And obviously we live above, so I will show you a little bit more around the house as well another time. And that means that really people can see in from the shop when they're looking around the shop. So I have to sort of sometimes use it to display artwork or other things through the warmer months. And I'm not really 100% on whether I'm going to do that again next year or whether I'm going to keep it all for growing. And I think the reason that that's changing and the reason why I'm leaning towards a little bit more of using this whole conservatory greenhouse space for growing is because of the cost of everything at the moment. Everything is so expensive, and I want to really be growing as much as I possibly can at home to stop us from having to go out and buy it. So if that means I have to use the conservatory exclusively for starting seedlings and growing on plants and things like that, then that's what I'm going to have to do. It will mean that there'll be obviously less product for people to come out here and buy, but that's not a problem because I can sort of maybe put a bit of the artwork and mix it with the plants. I don't think people are going to mind seeing what I'm growing out here in the courtyard and garden area, but I can mostly move any of the product that's for sale into the shop. So that's really what the decision that has, oh there's a fruit fly, that's really why I've made this main decision of growing more out here and using this space, this conservatory space, more for our family life, more for growing of fruits and vegetables and things than for shop use is because of the cost of living. And so yeah, I'm going to show you around this pit here, what you can see is some of my current favourite books. So I've got 2 of the Hugh Richards ones, which I absolutely love watching his YouTube channel, and I love his books. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the edible flowers and healing as well. I'm trying to make more tinctures and things, and herbal teas for the colder months, to try and get our family through with as limited amount of colds and bugs and things as possible. But I want to do that in a herbal way, so that's why that one's up there, because I'm learning as much as I can. I'm massively interested in growing beans for drying at the moment. So if anyone has any tips or any videos I should go and have a look at, or books, I would absolutely love to see them. Please, please, please do direct me to anything. So this year we grew, hopefully you can see this. This year we grew, I think this one is called Cherokee Trail of Tears, and there's a big history story to it that my father-in-law was telling me about, which I did a little bit of research on, but I must do some more. Now, when we saved the seeds, they're actually really quite small, and I've actually saved these for use next year, to plant next year, but I've been told that these can actually be stored and eaten. But I need to do a heck of a lot more research, and that's really what I want to do. I want to be growing the seeds to be eaten fresh, but also to store some to be eaten as dry beans that we would then, I assume, soak and use them in recipes, because we do buy lots of tinned beans and lentils and things to use in soups and stews and things over winter. And if we could be growing that, that would be fantastic. But as I say, at the moment, this is what I'm saving for seed next year. I've also got this white one here. Let's see if I can... It's hard to show you at the angle. So this white one here, I'm not 100% sure of the name anymore. I have completely forgotten it. It was gifted again to me as seed last year. I then grew those seeds on, and then I've saved these seeds here. But that's just 2 of the beans that I've done this year. I also did, for eating fresh, Kinghorn yellow bean, which was really delicious. So when I say eating fresh, we eat them fresh as we do through the summer, but then we chop and freeze them so we can eat those as fresh beans or frozen through the winter. But what I really want to learn more is how to grow beans, or what bean varieties to grow that I can then dry the beans on. So that's why I've got this book here. It helped a little bit, but it didn't give me a definitive, here in the UK, this is what I can grow, or this is the best ones to start with. And I think I'm still looking for that book, or that website, or that blog, or YouTube that's going to get me started and properly help me and direct me into what I should be buying, what seeds I should be getting. And then the Homegrown Harvest, that's just a lovely all-round book. I think it's one of those ones that everybody, I think, would enjoy having on their shelves and referring back to. So yeah, and this little area here, which you'll see on the tour in a moment, is my new sort of like a potting shed that most people would have. But I've just used a space that I already, like a unit that I already have, and it's inside, as I say, the conservatory that I use as a greenhouse. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an explanation as to what I'm doing at the moment in terms of my growing. As I say, it's mid-October at the moment, so it will be a bit of an interesting video for you to see what's going on here in mid-October, but I shall show you now around the garden. I hope you enjoyed the little tour. Let me know if you've got any questions, and yeah, have a great day. Hey everyone, so as I said, I'm going to show you around the greenhouse and the courtyard garden now. So this is the entrance point, this is the doorway into the greenhouse, and as you step in at the moment, it's quite empty. There's not very much in here yet because I've only just sort of laid it out this way and designed it this way. But what you can see are some of the books that I'm currently into, the potting up and potting on sort of bench that I've created, and some of the seeds and things that I've got on the go. And then obviously it's this beautiful view out onto the courtyard garden. And the plants you can see here on the windowsill at the moment, we've got 2 different types of chili plant. Now one's called blue scorpion tongue, I think, and the other one I have completely forgotten the name of, so I do need to ask my father-in-law, who gifted me the chili plants when they were tiny little seedlings. I need to ask him to remind me the names, but those chili plants have done really well this year. The one there that you saw that was red, it goes purple and then it goes red. That one has been one of the best chili plants of the year, so it's their first year, and I will keep those overwinter them, like I have this plant here. So the plant you're seeing now is my cayenne pepper, I think it's called. This is, I think, 2 overwinters now it's had, and it is still giving me a fantastic crop every single year, so I'm really pleased with that. I've also got here the aubergine, which is not turning purple at the moment. So they're quite small and they're not turning purple. They were outside for a little while, but I have brought them in now that the weather's changing, just because I think it would be too cold for them outside. Some of the seedlings that you can see here at the moment I've got going on, I've got white chard because I need to put some white chard out at the allotment. I think there's corn salad. I sowed the seed spinach. I sowed that on the weekend, so that's just gone in now. And then up here I've got the winter lettuce, which I think again I did at the weekend. I have just been sort of sowing different things that I see other people are recommending to sow for this winter. I've sown some celery here, which I think was actually quite a while ago, but they've only just started coming up, so I don't know what happened there. I've also been sowing some flower seeds that apparently if you start them now, then they get a really good boost for the spring. And overwintering some. So this was, I think, called Stock Brampton or something like that. So apparently if I sow those now, keep them, overwinter them, and then I should be able to put them out next year. This is my first time attempting that, so I'll see how those go. There's another one of the chilli plants, but one that got attacked really badly by aphids back there in the corner. I've brought one of my bay trees in, so I've left one outside over winter and one brought inside just in case, hedging my bets there a little bit. And as I say, that's the aubergine that isn't changing colour very well at the moment, and my beautiful little chilli plant. And then we shall step out into the garden. So the little bit of random turf you see there on the floor is fake, but we were given it, and I don't like that sort of thing personally, but I have put it out there just to I don't know, show that we've used it, and it gives a little bit of green as you step out, I suppose. So you can see here the first tree, that's one of the dwarf trees that I purchased this year. I think this one's the cherry one, and I think it was called Sylvia, and that was the name of my late nan and my husband's late nan, but they were both called Sylvia. So when we saw that one, we had to have that particular cherry tree. And this is the first year growing dwarf trees. We've never grown them before, and that's where I've moved the little tables just over here right by the door. It does mean we can't open both doors, but we don't ever really open them anyway, so it didn't make me, it wasn't a problem for us. This is the herb beds, and you can see here I have grown oregano, chives there, which are coming back in. Actually, I think I'll get another batch of chives now. That's lavender. And then in the pot next to it, we've got thyme, pineapple sage, and more of the oregano. So that oregano is the original plant that you see in that round tub down there. And then I propagated on another batch, which is what you see in the tub at the top. There's also rosemary and apple mint at the top there. This is another tree, one of my other dwarf trees. So one of 4 trees that we've got in the garden now. I think that one's the pear. I can't quite make out the label. I left the pot and the label in the tub for now. And this is one of my water butts. The other one is outside of the gate that you see there. So this is a bit of a mess at the moment because I did dig up some of the plants that have gone over. So that's what I was doing at the weekend. So these are the tomato plants that I will be chopping down next. And behind there is just a container with some flowers in. And in this planter here, the big planter is a pumpkin plant, which is growing really well. As you can see, it's growing really long. But I don't think we're actually getting any pumpkins, which is a bit odd. This one is my dark basil. We've had a good harvest of the dark basil, but something has been eating it constantly, which has been really frustrating because we're not getting as good a harvest as we could have had the whatever animal it is that's eating it, not eating it. That's the raspberry bush that we were gifted, and that was from my father-in-law. I believe it's a bush variety, so it's a non-thorny bush variety. So apparently it's not going to grow long, but seems to be at the moment. There's the lettuce, which is doing well for us. This is our blueberry plant. So this is only the second year in my garden, but I was given the blueberry plant by my dad. So I think it's at least 4 years old, the blueberry plant. That's all the tomatoes dying back. So if you go back and watch one of the other videos, you'd have seen them all in bloom. They're dying back now. That's the self-seeded Nicotina, I think it's called, plant that appeared randomly in a pot and is absolutely beautiful, so I let it grow on. It's just fallen over up there. And then down here, one of my hanging baskets. These have got some perennial plants in them. Cannot for the life of me remember the names, but they seem to be doing okay, so I'm hoping they overwinter. and at the top is where I put most of the flowers. So these are my fuchsias, which are a couple of years old now, and I absolutely love fuchsias. One of my ultimate favourite plants, because my nana, my late nana, she used to have a whole garden full of different fuchsia varieties, so that's what I grow those for. And then lots of different plants at the back there. Now this tiny bit of growing space down here on the ground is the only in-ground growing space I've got, and last year I tried to do tomatoes in it. They didn't take, it's not deep enough and the soil's just not good enough quality, so I've now changed it to flowers. And the flowers you can see, I think I've got Verбения in there. The dahlia head that's actually dripping over there, that's actually from a pot, but I just wanted to show you that dahlia because it's beautiful. And I've actually put a load more fuchsias in that back ground growing space, because as I say, I absolutely love them, and I'll see how they go. This is a raised planter, and it was my first time trying to go onions. I was given them by my husband. He saw them on sale somewhere. As you can see, I left the little labels in, but they weren't that price when he bought them. Carrots and onions. So I tried growing in that container there, but I have no idea if those onions have stopped now, because the green has stopped. And they look like they're dying back, but they're very tiny still, so I'm not sure if they're finished or not. And these are the rest of the plants up here on the top. We've got lots and lots of different ones that all sort of bloom throughout the year. So it's a variety that will bloom. Some will bloom now, some will bloom earlier in spring. So I move the pots around sometimes to see how they do. And this is an area I must sort out. This is my big mishmash of mess. Back there in the corner in that tub, every single year I get self-seeded potatoes. So I'm obviously not emptying out all the potatoes properly because they self-seed, and then I get another batch of potatoes, which is quite handy. This container here has some beetroot in it, and I use beetroot leaves, but also I love beetroot as well for all sorts of cooking. I think it's a cylindrical variety of beetroot, but I can't remember its name that I sowed in here, and I think some onions back there as well. So we shall see how that goes, and that's a big mess at the back there. These are the bean plants that have now finished, but I am letting the rest of those pods dry on the planter, so I'm going to see how they go and see if they dry and continue to dry. This one here that you can see is the fig plant. So I have, again, that's the third of the trees, the dwarf trees that I invested in, the fig plant, but I don't know if that plant's okay because it's the leaves are yellowing, so I need to research if that's normal for a fig plant, or if I need to bring him inside into the greenhouse or not. I think it's called Miss Figgy, so I need to do a bit of research on here. Some more of my dahlias, which I've had for a couple of years now, I absolutely love. And I think this one you say Rudbeckia, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and that did really well over the year. This is my final dwarf tree plant. So this one I think is the golden something apple. It's an apple tree, that one anyway. So they're all dwarf varieties and they seem to be doing okay. I don't know how they will do through the winter, and I really need to research what I need to do with dwarf fruit trees. I don't know if I need to bring them in or leave them out. If you've got any recommendations, please let me know, because I'm really worried about killing them off in the first year that I've had them, because they certainly were not cheap. They are an investment for me, and I do really want to keep them healthy and overwinter them so that we get some fruit next year or the year after, whichever it may be. So yeah, that is the courtyard garden in mid-October. That's what it's looking like right now. And as you can see, I have moved everything out of that central space so that I've got a lot of space for next year. I'm going to have a lot more big containers in the centre growing more crops for us to eat. So that should be fun next year. But it just, yeah, I think it's looking good out there. We shall see. Thanks for watching, guys.